Please keep in mind before listening to this episode that this is not an anti-religious or even anti-Mormon podcast episode, and neither is it a debate about religion or any theology. This episode strives to understand one person's perspective, growing up in a faithful household and losing that faith and in exchange finding themselves. Neither do I think, and I hope that no one else thinks, that people discussed within the stories are evil, bad, villainous in whatever way, as I'm sure everyone has their own versions of events. Doom and gloom aside, enjoy.
My dad and his side of the family, they all devout Mormons, grew up Mormon, and they're just like a Mormon household growing up for them. My mom, different side of the world pretty much, Dominican Republic, grew up Catholic, had no idea what the hell a Mormon church was. Somehow my mom decides, okay, I'm going to move to New York. I'm done with the DR. Moves to New York with her sisters and her dad. My dad decides, I'm going to go on my mission. So my dad goes to DC on his mission. My mom then moves to DC. Really weird coincidences.
Wow.
My mom moves to DC. They meet each other at a fucking club. So my dad went on his mission, didn't meet her on his mission. Goes back to California, then comes back to DC because he loved it so much. Gets married. And then gets divorced and then meets my mom at a club. Yeah.
Wow.
So They meet each other at this club. They start talking. You know, my mom already had 2 kids. She already had my brother Carlos and my sister Kenya. And my dad already had my brother Steven. So both single parents meeting at they were bound to hit it off. So they start talking, having a good time, and my dad was inactive in the church at this point. And funny enough, my mom, when she was living in New York, had taken the lessons from missionaries. And so she had already got like the first vision, all that shit.
Oh, so she had already heard by this point of the Mormon religion.
Right. So I had no idea. She told me like a couple years ago, she goes, I was like, I was going to get baptized before I even met your dad.
Wow.
But something told me not to do it. And I was like, oh, okay, weird. Like, probably shouldn't have done it anyway, now thinking about it, but still, you know. She's like, something told me not to do it. And I was like, okay. And so then they get married. Then they have me, and I pop out, and I remember like my first distinct memory, like really big memory of the church was, oh, and that's hilarious too, my fucking temple recommend card of the DC temple, if you can see that.
Wow.
I tried ripping this up the other day because I didn't want anything to do. Well, I was gonna do this cool like artsy, like cut it up and then take a picture of it in like the shambles that it's in and post it on social media to get a rise out of people, but I was like, nah, it's not worth it. Anyway, my first distinct memory was getting sealed to my family in the temple. You know what sealing is?
I actually don't. No, funnily enough.
So sealing, it's a weird thing. It's basically what it is you go to the temple, and the sealing is sealing your family together for time and eternity. It means that when you die and you go to heaven, quote unquote, when you are there, and once Judgment Day happens, after Judgment Day, you'll still be with your family no matter what. Because like apparently like people get separated after they die, and you don't get, like, some people go to different kingdoms when you die. That's the Mormon belief. Like there's 3 kingdoms, and then so the whole deal is that way everybody is together when you die. It's cool. Like it's a cool theory, but I distinctly remember that because we went into the Mormon temple, and like my first time in the temple, it was weird. We were dressed in all white. My parents were also dressed in all white. I don't want to get into too much so that like the Mormons get at me for like explaining what goes on in the temple.
No, because it is. So it is, just to clarify, the temple, from what I understand, is a very sacred place which they don't just allow anyone in. You need petition, a particular event or circumstance to which you're allowed to enter. So not even Mormons are allowed to just wander in and out free of any restraint. And yeah, okay, just to clarify.
Yeah, like it's they keep it super sacred. They say it's sacred, but it's more secret than anything. And that's what it took me a while to learn that too. But like growing up and like seeing the temples are beautiful. They're enormous, beautiful buildings.
Yeah.
But what goes on in them is some weird shit. But sorry, I'm losing track of where I am in the story.
Not at all. Let
me get back. So yeah, first memory, going to the temple, getting sealed to my family. And the one thing that I really remember was being in that room, like the sealing room, and just like a feeling of like, what the fuck is going on? Like not even like a spiritual, like, because normally, like, you would think, like, if you're in a spiritual situation, as a kid, you should be able to feel that a little bit more. You should be more sensitive to things like that. I just didn't feel that. Like my first time ever in the temple, I like wanted to play basketball and like have fun. Like that was my thing, my first time. Like I got a little trash can, I got these little, and I was like shooting baskets in the kids. Great time.
So you're playing paper toss in the temple, pretty much.
Exactly. Playing paper toss in the temple. And that was like one of my first big memories that I have. And then, I mean, pretty much after that, it was the standard, Mormon life where go to church every Sunday, do what you're supposed to do. I mean, I was pretty young, so I didn't really have anything stupid to do at this point. And then I got baptized. I remember my whole family was there for that. It was this huge deal. And
what age were you?
8. I was 8 when I got baptized.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's the minimum age you're allowed to get baptized as well, isn't it? Do you know why, out of interest? Why it's 8?
Personally, I don't think we'll ever know the answer. But I've been told on numerous occasions that like 8 years old is where that's like the age that they're accountability, like able to make the distinction between right and wrong or like good and evil. And I'm like, but you're 8 years old. You really want to make a decision to devote your entire life to God when you're 8? You don't even know anything at that point. Like, you don't even know your mom's first name. Her name's just Mom. Like, yeah. You're automatically tasked with this thing of devoting your entire life to Jesus. And I just thought that's whack. But
did you think that then, or so? How did you feel at the baptism?
So when at the baptism, so I felt I was very, very much in the church and like very much like deep rooted when I was younger, very brainwashed. But I remember being baptized. Like I remember that being a big deal, so big of a deal that I didn't even want my dad to do it. I wanted my brother to baptize me because that's how close him and I were in relationship. Little did I know that motherfucker was selling drugs at the time, so he obviously couldn't baptize me. But
okay, so just to clarify, who else is in your family in terms of your parents' children? Who else is in the unit?
So it's me, my mom, my dad, my brother Carlos, and my sister Kenya, who are twins. They're fraternal twins.
Okay.
And my brother Steven.
Are they older? All older?
Yes, they're all older. My brother Carlos and Kenya, my sister Kenya are like 31, 32. Yeah, they're 32. And then my brother Steven is like 30 something.
Okay.
It's a little bit older, but still, yeah. So meanwhile, yeah, my brother selling drugs. That's another story that we should go on. That's anyway.
I'll keep a note of that.
Yeah, so I remember baptized, whole family was there. There's like a DVD video, like with screenshots and a slideshow of the whole baptism somewhere in the storage unit. But yeah, from then on, I became, at that point, I think I turned 12 and I became a deacon. And
what's a deacon?
So a deacon there's deacon, teachers, and priests, and they're all like separated by age. So a deacon is from 12 to 14. A teacher is from 14 to 17, and a priest is from 17 up. And basically what it represents is it's kind of like a passage of manhood, if you want to look at it like that. It's like your deacons, when you become a deacon, and this is normally true for every male in the Mormon church. When you turn 12, you become a deacon, you receive something called the Aaronic priesthood. And what that is supposedly when the church was restored, God gave Joseph Smith his priesthood power, like his ability, like his godlike power, so that way he could bless other people. I don't believe in it. I think it's all bullshit. But when you turn 12, you receive the Aaronic priesthood and you're able to pass the sacrament or do the sacrament, basically.
Okay.
And from that teacher, from deacon to teacher, it's still the same shit. You just learn a little bit more, more teaching, stuff like that. And then once you become a priest, that's when you can bless the sacrament. You also receive the Melchizedek priesthood, which is like a higher up priesthood than I don't know. It's weird.
Wow, it's way more hierarchical and there's way more to it. Is it all just okay? So you have this, like, they're separated by ages, right? But do you automatically get assigned that role, or that you get put into that bracket, or do you have to apply for it in any way, or say, listen, now I'm this age, I want to be a priest? Or is it literally like anyone that age, priest, as long as you're a devoted?
It's automatic, like, yeah.
Okay.
It's also your choice to receive the Melchizedek priesthood, but in the church, if you say no, obviously, like, that's going to raise some flags and people are going to have questions for you. So I think a lot of the time, people that are members of the church are only members because they're scared to question things, and they're scared to ask certain things, or they're scared to, be confident with themselves. Because that's how I was for a long time. I was super scared to question shit because I wasn't sure what the answer was going to be. And I'm like, well, if this is false, like, and I think that's when I want to say when I became a priest and I received the Melchizedek priesthood, that's when I really started to like go downhill. Like, I mean, shoot, I've been smoking trees since like sophomore year of high school. So I'm a pothead and I love it.
But what kind of age is that for? Because I mean, I don't grip that age from that reference too well.
So I would have been about like 16.
Okay.
Yeah, like 16 years old when I first started smoking. And when I received the Melchizedek priesthood, by that time, it was every single day I was getting high. Wow. Every single day, for about a year straight, I was getting high.
Wow.
And like having the Melchizedek, it was just, things were conflicting. And like, I wanted to live the double life of like, I still want to make sure my parents are cool with me, and like, but I also still want to like do drugs and like have a good time and party and like see the world. But like, I have to everybody else, I have to be this good kid. And after a while, it was like, like, man, I'm starting to question a lot of shit. Like, I don't understand what's going on. Why, when I'm blessing the sacrament, like, and stuff like that, it's just like small little things that would just conflict with what the church was saying. Of like for example, like if I had been smoking like that day, this is how stupid I was. I was thinking that like, even if I got high, I still had a relationship with God and he would be cool with it. So I was like, we him and I are close, whatever, right? He's supposed to be my father. Him and he'll be cool with that, And I used to show up to church high as fuck, and they'd ask me to like do the sacrament or something. I'd be like, oh, I can't do it. Like, oh, like I'm not worthy or whatever. Like, just trying to get out of it. But at the same time, I would still think in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm gonna go to hell because I'm doing all these things and my heavenly Father. Like, it was. Wow. Yeah, it was hard for me to let go of that whole mentality, especially like a little bit before my mission, like right before my mission, like a couple years before my mission. That's when I was like starting to figure shit out, but I still was very devout, and I still like wanted to believe in what the church was teaching, because I was like, well, this is awesome. Like, Jesus wants to die for me. Like, God loves me unconditionally, and things that make you feel good inside. And
despite that constant fear and
right,
guilt-inducing fear,
because
it's stuck there.
Because you can repent, right? Like anybody can repent and come back, and that's
Yeah.
But still, I still had that fear in my head of like, God's gonna punish me, and like what am I gonna do? Like, I'm gonna be sent to hell, like outer darkness, all this shit. And yeah, after a while, I like started to get really scared, and then I just was kind of like, you know what? Even if God is real, or this is his church, I was like, it's something I'm not too sure I agree with. And that's when I really, really started to say, okay, I don't know if I really want to be a part of this church anymore. Like,
so this was already before your mission?
From before my mission. I want to say, like, right before I did my mission paperwork, or like I even announced that I was going to go, I was like, something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
Something's not right, and I need something to help me prove that this is right. And I tried doing research. I hated reading the Book of Mormon because it's just copy and paste from the Bible. And seriously, it is. It's a joke, but that's another thing.
Yeah. No, I definitely want to get onto that at some point.
Yeah. Where was I at? Yeah. So not agreeing with the church. And then by the time I decided to go on my mission, so the whole story as to what happened, I wanted to go to school for music. Music is my passion. It's my dream. It's what I want to do. I begged my parents. I was like, please, like, will you please pay for my schooling? I'm like, this is my dream. Like, this is what I want to do with my life. And they've always wanted me to go to school. They have their idea of what they want to do, what they want me to do with my life. And that's how parents are. They always want the best for you, but it's not always the best for you. It's what they think is the best for you. It's what's best for them, really, most of the time.
Yeah.
And, I was like, well, what the fuck? Like, this is my dream. Like, this is what I want to do. And no support from it. It was, no, we're not going to help you unless you go on your mission. So it was, we're not going to pay for your school unless you go on your mission.
Okay.
And so I took that to heart. I almost was like, well, fuck. Well, how am I going to pay for my school by myself? Like, and my parents have always wanted to pay for my education. They've always wanted to be like, we'll pay for your school, like, as long as you do it. And to them to just say that, I felt so betrayed. And I was like, the fuck, like, this is my dream. Like, this is what I want to do. And you're telling me no? Like, what? And I had a thought with myself, and I sat beside myself, and I was like, listen, you can try and live your life and not be a member of the church and just like do what you got to do on your own, or you can listen to your parents, let them pay for your education, and have a better turnout afterwards, after your mission, than before. And I sat in my room for like hours thinking about what the fuck I was going to do. And I'm like frustrated with my parents, frustrated with myself, frustrated at the church, like school, everything. I'm like, I just graduated. So I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do with my life, right? And lo and behold, the idea came to my head. Go on the mission. Okay, let them come back. Let them pay for your car. Let them pay for your education. Let them do whatever the fuck they want to do when you come back. And then just drop the church. And I thought, I was like, okay. I'm like, that kind of calmed me down a little bit. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do it. Hold on. What percentage am I? What's that? Okay. 10%. Okay. Okay. Like, maybe this will be the solution. And I got up on church that Sunday, and I went up to the podium. It was like fast and testimony meeting.
So this is after the mission now, yeah?
No. So this is before. This is still before the mission.
Still before. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So this is the day of. I'm announcing that I'm going to go.
Okay.
So I'd sat in church with my parents. Yeah, right next to them, and it was like fast and testimony meeting. So everybody goes up, they bear their testimony about the church, and then they sit down type shit.
So
And
just to expand upon that a little bit, from what I gathered, testimonies are literally where people say their thoughts for the week or for the day in relation to the church and things they've learned, spiritually speaking, well, in the Mormon sense of the word spiritual. And yeah, and then it's just kind of like a hype session. Faithful
it really
hype
is.
session.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yes. And then like other people had went up and they were like talking about different things, and my parents were just like pissed at me because that whole night I didn't tell them what I was going to do. To them, their whole perception of me right now is that our son doesn't want to go on a mission and he wants to do his own thing, and that's a problem. And that's something that I learned with my parents. My parents are very controlling people. My parents are fucking insane. I love them, but my parents are fucking insane.
I feel like most of us feel that
way. But so I decided, I'm like, I'm gonna go up, and I went up there and I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but I just went up and I said it. I was like, I decided to go on a mission, and I made some bullshit story, and then I sat down, and the moment where I was like, oh fuck, what am I getting myself into? I look at my parents as I'm walking towards the seats to go sit down, and I look at my mom and my dad, and they're both bawling their eyes out. And I go,
with joy, I suppose, or
with joy, yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I was like, oh shit. And I go to sit down, they're like hugging me and like, oh, I mean, like, oh my god. And then I'm like, what's up? And my mom's like, no, your mom saw a vision of you in the heavens with God creating like this crazy ass thing. And I'm like, oh, this is deeper than I thought. Like, oh no, like my mom saw a vision. Like, she thinks that I'm serious about this. Like, oh no.
So were you more in a place of guilt because you knew your intention behind it, or was there even a seed within you that was like, maybe there is something I don't know about my actual intention? Like maybe that will be my spirituality will be revealed onto me, and it is my destiny, so to speak.
Yeah, it was that. It was more. Yeah, it was more like oh well, maybe this is real. Like maybe and that's what kind of kept me back a little bit. So I announced I'm going on my mission. By this point, I'm still smoking weed. I'm still getting high. I'm still hanging out with my homies. I had to leave for my mission in December. I didn't stop smoking until December 1st.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. That's how committed I was. It was like I had to leave like December 20 something, or I think it was like December 15th. Didn't stop until the 1st of December. Right. And then so what they teach you in the Mormon Church is most of your church leaders can discern whether or not something bad is going on. Like the spirit can tell them, right? Like, so I had been smoking weed, like I had sex with some chick like a couple months after I got the Melchizedek priesthood or some bullshit. Like just things that you were not supposed to be doing. Things that would have got me excommunicated from the church.
Yeah.
And I go to my stake president, who is like, the stake president is like the higher up official. He's the guy that tells you, he gives you your last interview before you go on a mission.
Mm-hmm.
So, excuse me.
That's all right.
He was like, thank you. He was like, like, thanks. Like, he was just a super enthusiastic guy, and like, he loves me. I love him. He's a great guy. And he's like asking me these questions, and he's like, well, are there any other sins that like you haven't talked about that you want to, talk about now? And I was like, no. Nothing I want to talk about at all. I'm like, I'm clean. I feel good. And the smile on his face, as if he thought, I literally, I was like, in the back of my head, I'm like, this motherfucker's in my hands. I could tell this man anything, and he would believe. Like, so that was kind of like a thought in my head of like, what the fuck? Like, why? If this is, you're supposed to discern, and you're supposed to be this, big guy, and I'm telling you these lies, and you're still like, yeah, it's so good to see you. I hope you have a great time on your mission.
Would you say he was then? Because I mean, he sounds somewhat charismatic. I can imagine him, from what you're saying, being a good speaker and with the right crowd when preaching to converted. But would you say in that scenario, obviously I don't know the individual, but he was talking to what he wanted to see, or to who he wanted to see, as opposed to what he was saying? Or do you feel like you genuinely were just very convincing?
I think all of them at once, really. Like,
Okay.
it was kind of, and I also painted this picture of myself to everybody, that I was this good kid, and like I said, man, I was living a fucking double life, man, double agent type shit. Sign me up for the FBI. But
It's all
yeah,
making
like,
sense.
yeah, it was crazy. Like, he thought I was the super good kid, and I let them believe that I was the super good kid, and it was just weird, and having that realization, and I was like, something's weird, something's off, And then I left for my mission, and when I got to the MTC, like the Missionary Training Center, I'm not gonna lie, those were some of the best few weeks of my life, best like month and a half or whatever of my life. Some of the greatest times, some of the greatest friends I've ever met. Just an awesome experience. If I could take the religion away from it, it would be like college, pretty much. And I loved it. I thought it was super awesome. And the problem with that was that I had friends, and so friends made me think things were okay. It made me more comfortable, and it made me less of like looking at the end goal, and more like I would listen to their testimonies, and like I would feel like spiritually, like I would feel good and different stuff like this, just because people are passionate about it, and you feel that spirit from them, and they project that. And I, like, after the MTC, like that 3.5 weeks, then I get to Germany.
Okay, before we get to Germany, I just want to know a bit more about this place. So, what was your everyday routine like there?
So I would wake up like 9 a.m. every day, pray, take a shower, or no, pray, go to the gym, work out, come back, take a shower, get dressed, go to class, or they go to class until like 11, and then breakfast, go back to the dorm, study for a little bit, for like 30 minutes, go to class for a couple hours, lunch, class, dinner, and then go back to the dorms, sleep, and repeat every single day.
So the classes, I take it, were pretty much Mormon theology, I take it, or?
So the classes are, it's more of teaching you German, and then church teachings with German.
Okay.
Yes, the MTC, they teach you like missionaries teach people, basically. They teach you all the way through the first vision, all this, like everything to the restoration of the church. And it's cool. They teach you shit. And like, I learned German there. That's where, but at the same time, like, oh, man, things were just weird. Like, things felt weird. I felt sexually frustrated every single day, bro. Like, there were so many times where I just wanted to pull up on a shotty, just like, hey, what's up? Like, what's up? I'm Elder Grogan. I'm from Virginia. Like, what's up? Ha.
Oh, man.
But I couldn't, because I was a missionary, and that's frowned upon.
Of course.
And more like, yeah. Anyway, it was, like I said, it was a great time. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Another question whilst we're playing around in this area, in this pond. Praying. So you say you pray every morning. Now, with what you've just said, for example, like, wanting to maybe be more flirtatious, if not amorous, with other people, even in a casual sense, whatever. And being already aware of some doubts occurring, how did you find praying easy? Like, was it easy to get yourself to pray? Was it already an automatic habit which you had developed because of childhood,
Yeah,
or did you have to
yeah.
really get yourself up to do it?
No, it was definitely like something that I was used to.
Hmm.
Growing up, you get taught the prayers when you're like 5,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
but the weird thing about prayer for me was how the prayers to me in the Mormon church feel almost ingenuine sometimes. I feel like it's more of like, to me, when I would pray, it would be like I'm having a conversation with God. And I would pray way different than everybody else. I called myself like the unorthodox fucking Mormon, where my praying style wasn't like, Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you for the many blessings, like that shit. It was more like,
Yep.
what's up, big man? Like, we got something to talk about. And it would like, you know,
It was personal.
right. It was more personal.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I felt like myself kind of struggling in that department of like praying because it didn't feel right. Of course, prayer is a form of meditation, but
Yeah.
wasn't the same effect. And so I kind of had trouble with that, but still, like, easy to say a prayer. I could bump one out, no problem.
And did you feel some
But
level of
it's, yeah,
connection then?
yeah, I did. I'm not gonna lie. When I went, like, it was a very spiritual experience being in the MTC, and they teach you a lot of really spiritual shit. And like one thing that I would really take away from that place is how spiritual it is when you're there. Like, because you're not thinking about things of the world. You're focused on Christ and his teachings, and you're focused on being a missionary.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
it's almost monk-like sometimes because you're very focused, and you have to be focused on these teachings, and you know Jesus is a great teacher. I mean, of course, he
Mm.
quotes Confucius a lot of the time and come up with your own shit, but Jesus is a great teacher, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's cool. Like, a lot, like I said, man, a lot of spiritual experiences, but it's also taking me now to look back at them and to see some of them as for what they were. You know, feeling specific type of way when watching like a Joseph Smith movie. Like, I used to hate watching these things because I'm like, I don't. I never had faith in that motherfucker to begin with. I knew that dude was a shady motherfucker. Even when
Ah.
they were like, oh, he's a 14-year-old kid and saw some vision. I'm like, dude, I can't see that. What makes me believe that this dude who was a
Hmm.
con man beforehand,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And not even in a sense where it's like Jesus was called a con man, because there could be some truth to what he did, but with Joseph Smith, from what I've gathered, and correct me if I'm wrong and elaborate if you feel like it, but he would literally do like kind of street cons and that kind of stuff,
yeah,
actual deceitful stuff, as opposed to
yes,
just, you know,
he
being
was a he
labeled
was
by
a
the enemy.
treasure hunter, is what he would call
Yes,
himself.
yes.
And that's crazy to me. Like, he would oh my God, a divining rod, which is just a tree branch with two ends on it, and apparently it guides you to treasure. Oh my
Wow, wow.
God, there's this book that I read that really woke me up. Like, I didn't have a lot of faith in, you know the religion that my parents brought me up in, and I would say up until like maybe November, I was still kind of holding on to the fact of like, maybe, just maybe, like, I had this littlest little doubt of like, maybe, just maybe it's right, and like maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I should go back to church. And
Did
then
you
I
hope
read,
it was right?
yeah, part of me was hoping it was right
Yeah.
because I'm like, I devoted a lot of my life to this,
Mm.
and I'm like, I haven't been going to church, and things have just been awkward and weird because I wasn't spiritually aligned, and
Mm.
at this point I was like, I don't know what the fuck to believe in. Um, and even, yeah, like up until November, I was still in my head like thinking like, like my relationship with God is weird and everything. And then I read this book called the CES Letter, And
At what age?
literally, huh?
At what stage of your journey did you read this?
Oh, my alarm. Sorry.
That's all right.
What journey of this? I want to say it was towards the end. It was towards the end of the journey. So like last year, November, from like actually more from like September to November was when I really started to like, get my spirituality together and start learning more things and
So was this
questioning
after the
after my
mission?
mission. Yes.
After your
So
mission?
I'm like skipping ahead of myself.
Oh, no. Don't
I'm
worry.
all over the place.
I really want to know about it. I've kept a note of it.
It's the
Like,
ADD, man. I'm telling you. No.
oh,
But no, my mission. So MTC. Anyway, let's talk about from mission and then we'll go after. So, went to the MTC. Great time. I leave to go to my mission. And that's actually a really good story too. So my companion and I, Elder Christensen, great guy, super funny guy. We were in the Salt Lake City airport and we had to fly. So it was flying from Salt Lake to Atlanta and then from Atlanta to Germany. And we get on the plane, we're sitting there and it's hot as balls, bro. I'm like dying, like no AC, nothing. I'm like, what the hell's going on? It's December, oven in here. So we're like sitting there and then they turn off the plane power, turn it back on like several times. And they're like, we don't know what's going on with the plane, like this and that, blah, blah, blah. Like just shit was going wrong. And finally they kick us all off the plane. And as we're sitting there, we're like, well, hold on. If we miss this flight, we're going to miss our connecting flight in Atlanta. And then we're going to have to stay at the airport for God knows how long.
yeah.
And so I go up to the service lady and I'm like, listen, we need to get to Germany ASAP. Like, if we miss our connecting flight in Atlanta, we're not going to make it. And we're not going to have anywhere to go. And she was like, okay, let me see what I can do. All right, thank you. We wait a little bit. She comes up to us and she goes, I have 2 tickets to fly from Amsterdam and then to Germany. And we go, fuck it, we'll take it. So we took the 2 tickets and they flew. Yeah, so we got on a plane. I think it was a KLM flight from Salt Lake City to Amsterdam. And that was the longest flight I have ever been on in my life. Oh my God. It was like a 10, 11 hour flight.
Oh, I haven't been on one that long.
Die.
No.
Oh my God. It was so bad.
Wow.
I sat next to this Portuguese dude the whole time. I was cool. It was good because I sat in the exit row. I love sitting in the exit row because there's leg room and like people don't fucking bother you. And so I sat in the exit row and like this dude's next to me and we're just chatting it up, talking, and he's like, well, what are you here for? What are you going to Amsterdam for? Actually, I'm going to Germany. So I told him everything about the church and all that, and tried to convert him while I'm on the plane, but he just wasn't having it.
He can run away.
Like, no. Yeah, he's not having it. So we land in Amsterdam. Just not Danish. What am I saying? Fucking Dutch language everywhere, which is just a bastardized German. Anyway, we land in so we land in Amsterdam. And man, it was just such a weird experience. My first time ever being in Europe. I get off this plane. It was like 11-hour flight. My back hurts. My ass hurts. I don't want to be here. There's Heineken everywhere, and I'm losing my mind because I want to drink. I'm like, fuck, like what is going on? Yeah. And
had you ever been to Amsterdam before?
I had never been to Amsterdam. That was my first time ever being in Europe.
Wow. And you can experience most of the things you wanted to.
Yeah. But I was like, this is fucking awesome. Like, this is so cool. Even in the airport, motherfuckers are cool. And like, they had the Ajax store, the Ajax team. And I got a little hat from there and a shawl and everything. And it was really cool. And while we're sitting in the airport, out of the blue, this dude just comes up to us, and he's this Mormon guy. And he's talking about, he's like, yeah, I'm going to Germany. He's like, I actually went on my mission to Germany. And he just starts talking. It was so weird. It was like a little, like, hey, like, don't worry, you got this. Like, this is scary as shit, but you got this. And he starts talking to us and telling us about, like, because he was in Germany during like the Berlin Wall, and
Wow.
so he was, yeah, on the other side. He was on the good side, obviously.
So really a while back.
Wild. And he's telling us about the story, and it was really cool. And then we got on a tiny ass plane from Amsterdam to Germany, and oh my god, the stewardesses were so fucking hot. Like, keep in mind, this is my first time in Europe, and I don't understand how beautiful people are. It's something about Europe that, like, people are a lot more prettier than they are in America. Like,
interesting.
it honestly, like, in my personal opinion, people in Europe are way more attractive than Americans. And I don't know what it is. I think it's just like, their facial, like, just Dutch people in general. Dutch people are also beautiful. So, but just, oh my goodness, like, dime pieces as the stewardess. Again, I'm a missionary, and like, I'm sitting next to my companion, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on, dude?
What was his reaction to it?
He was just tired. I'm like, dude, how are you not freaking out right now? We get to Germany. Yeah, we got to Germany like pretty early in the morning, and oh man, we get out of the airport. We meet the mission president, President Boyer. Meet some other missionaries, and then they drive us from. See, I was thinking, okay, I landed in Germany. Now, can I have some time to, like, sit the fuck down and, like, maybe sleep for a little bit? No, it took us straight from the airport to one of the most, like, crowded places in front. The not Hauptwache, the Zeil. They took us to the Zeil on the first day.
Okay.
So. You remember that, right? The big ass mall area in Frankfurt. Outside.
I've got a weird relationship with Frankfurt. I've not explored it in the conventional way, despite having gone there like most of my life.
Where like all the malls are, and like the Adidas store.
Maybe. I'll need to see it to remember. Because yeah, again, very weird experiences I've had. Even though, yeah, I've been there since, I don't know, when I was 5 or 6 or 7 maybe. I just go every year. But it was split between Ulm and Neu-Ulm, which is further south, I believe, and then Frankfurt, where my Omi is, my grandmum. So yeah, when I was there, I was stuck around Schwanheim or Hanau to visit, at the time, my dad's wife's family, because I also would then see them by extension. So yeah, I don't know.
You're good. It's it was that little just like a little mall area. But I think you lived in Hanau for a little bit.
Well, I didn't live there. I mean,
but visited.
Yeah, I never lived in Germany, but I would visit there. Like, I was there for a New Year's once, and a couple Christmases, and a couple Easters. Yeah.
It's a lot easier trip than across the entire world, for sure.
Yeah. Yes.
But that's awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, sorry. Anyway, fucking flying in. So yeah, they took us to the most populated area of Frankfurt. I don't speak. Well, that's not true. I speak like barely any German. Like, only the shit that they teach you in the MTC. They're like telling us, go talk to people. It's fucking freezing. It's I think it's February at this point. Freezing my ass off, like, trying to talk to people. Like, it's so cold, and I was like, oh my god, I don't want to fucking do this. We did that for like an hour.
Also, with the intention to actually get people on board. as
Right,
well.
right.
Okay, so straight
So
into that.
it's like you're fresh. Yeah, you're fresh off the boat. Go convert people. And
Wow.
I was like, oh, like no, I can't do this. So they gave us an hour of that, and then we head back to the church. And by this point, I've been up for like 22 hours. Like couldn't sleep on the plane. I'm just dying. And we're at the church. We're just talking, and like I go through the church, and like just like complete culture shock. Like there, I'm like, whoa, like this is Europe. Like this is crazy. Like what the fuck? Like things are different. The doors open weird. The light switches are different. What the fuck is going on? The plugs in the wall are different. Like I'm losing my mind. But at the same time, I was just like, this is like I still can't believe I'm here. Like I made it all the way across the entire world, and like, holy shit, like this is so like this is cool. Like this is amazing. Like so many different emotions going in at once, and that's kind of affected me on my mission because I had always wanted to go to Germany. Like I wanted to go to Dortmund because that was my favorite time. Like I love soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. And like it was such a cool. It was like my dream come true, and that's kind of what kept me on my mission a little bit longer. Was I've always wanted to be here, but I'm here for the wrong reasons. And
Almost like going to a restaurant you've heard about, you really want to try out, but then go in there with the wrong kind of date or the wrong partner who kind of ruins that experience, because even though the place is great, it's who you're with and why you're there.
It's fantastic. The wine's good. You're having a good like the substance is there and the atmosphere is there. But the person you're with is just this rotten bitch who doesn't really give a shit about you, and she's only there for your money. And that's pretty much that's how it was.
She doesn't even play with the check at the end. She just says, "No, you're paying for it."
She knows. Are we splitting the bill? No.
Why would you even ask that, you arsehole? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't really earn much money right now.
My bad. I'm broke, but like, okay, I'll pay for it. Yes, sweetheart.
You've got more money than me, haven't you? No.
Yeah, right?
You're the man.
Oh, no. You pay. It's principle. That's exactly like just the simp over his girlfriend. The abusive girlfriend. That's a terrible situation, but still, just hey.
Love that, comparing being a missionary in a country you love to simping over someone that you don't really love.
Simping over someone who hates you. That's pretty much what I would say that mission was like.
Okay.
But yeah, it was fun, and then after a while I was living in Frankfurt, and Elder Johnson was just being a pain in my ass. I seriously sometimes wanted to kick the shit out of him. Like,
how come?
On numerous occasions, just because he was such a little fucking Disney princess. Like, oh my god, I love him. He's my best friend, and he's my brother, and always will be. But dude, sometimes like living with someone like you share the same room, and I just wanted to fucking deck him, just because he just did some weird shit, and like he wouldn't chew food with his mouth closed.
No,
and I wanted to punch him every time he ate, bro. It would be. It was good, huh? Like, it's hard.
Where was he from, out of interest?
He's from Utah.
Okay. He was also where most missionaries come from.
Yes. Yeah. He was a Peter priesthood, as we like to call him.
Okay.
So very, very devoted, very much in the church. He still is. But man, I just had a lot of problems with him, but I still love him, and I wouldn't have had it any other way with him either, because he's just a fun guy. Taught me so much. Mm-hmm. But then I had something crazy happen. So while I was on my mission, and like things were going okay, and I was missing my family a lot, but I was still like, fuck it, I'm in Frankfurt, I'm having a good time. Um, and it was on transfer day. Like it couldn't have been any other day. It was on transfer day. I had woke up. Transfer days are like when all the missionaries go to the Hauptbahnhof and they go to different areas and you find out who your new companion, like that shit.
So new ward, new companion.
Right.
Yeah.
But I stayed in Frankfurt. And Elder Johnson left to go somewhere to train someone. But I woke up that morning. We went to go play basketball. And as we're playing basketball, like I was like, I'm gonna take a break, and I check my phone. And it's just Facebook is blowing up. I'm like, the hell? Like I didn't post anything on Facebook. Like, why is my Facebook blowing up? So I pick up and I'm like scrolling through. And as I'm scrolling through, like just pictures of my aunt. I'm like, why are there pictures of my aunt? Like, what's going on? And I'm like scrolling through and I see these messages and like my aunt had died that fucking morning. And and that's the way I found out was through Facebook. And the weird thing is like I had a very specific relationship with my aunt, like a very close relationship with her. I mean, her son is my roommate. We're literally brothers. Like she is my second mom. I consider her my second mom because of when I got in fights with my parents, just fucking hate. Like I had one time where my parents thought that like my cousin Dylan and I were like smoking weed in the house, which we weren't because we're not stupid. We don't smoke weed in the house. Let's do it outside. And they were like, "What smells like marijuana in here?" And like, blah, 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 just like getting mad at me for no reason. And so I was like, "Okay, you know what? Fuck you." So I took my shit. I took him home, and I stayed there for like 2 weeks at his mom's place with him. Greatest like week, I think it was a week and a half. Like greatest week and a half I ever had. She came over and she like heard my whole story, everything, and she was like, "You can stay here as long as you want. Fuck your parents. Don't worry about them." She's like, "But eventually you will need to go back because you can't live here." So I was like, but yeah, she was my second mom, and I still love her a lot. We don't really talk about her that much. It's kind of like a mutual. We don't talk about her.
Yeah, I understand.
But like, yeah, like I just saw that and I just started bawling in the middle of the gym. And all the other missionaries are like, "What's going on, man?" I'm like, I just found out my aunt died on Facebook of all places, right? Like, not even getting a text or a message from somebody. And I was just broken, dog. I was crying all the way to the fucking apartment. And I like get in the apartment and, you know, my fucking Elder Johnson's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm good. I just need some time to myself. And he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go take a shower." And I'm like, perfect. So he goes to take a shower and I'm on my hands and knees, bro, like praying. Like, why the fuck of all people are you gonna have to take her away from me? Like I'm just questioning everything. And I kept trying to look for an answer and I never got one. I was praying my heart out. I'm like, if there was something that was there, it should have heard me. But I was like, I don't understand. Like I can't be there for my family. They wouldn't even let me go to the funeral. They wouldn't fly me out to go to the funeral. It was like, yeah, stay in Germany. So I still feel guilty about that. Like, and I'm gonna have to keep that with me for as long as I can forgive myself. But I still resent myself to not be able to be there for my family. That I was out in Germany, you know, doing something that now looking back at it was fucking dumb. Like I don't believe in that religion anymore, and like I shouldn't hold that above my head, but like I still do sometimes. And I couldn't be there for my cousin. I couldn't be there for my mom and my dad, like the whole family, and I couldn't go to the funeral. And like the next time I had to see her was her fucking gravestone, and I was so fucking angry, bro. Like it was me against the world, and I was sitting there crying and praying, and I'm questioning. I'm like, what is going on? No answer, nothing. And I was like, okay. So I felt comfort in that, and the fact that I didn't get an answer, which normally most people are like, would you pray more? I'm like, no, if I had already put everything, my whole being into this and prayed and I didn't get an answer, okay. That's when the doubt crept in. And that moment my aunt died. That's when the little seed was planted. And I just kept that. I kept that with me. I didn't think about it. I didn't talk to anybody about it, but I kept that. So then my mission. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. But because you're in a wonderful flow, and you have been throughout most of this so far as well. But just to get an idea of this, of your relationship with God at this point, or is it within your belief that God is responsible for all deaths and there's a reason for all deaths and who dies, or is it kind of like, the classic, it's part of God's plan, and so did you project the reason onto him partially, or
at that point I still believed in God, but like my faith was still being questioned a little bit by myself. And yeah, it was more like, because I've been taught that if somebody dies, God needs them, or it's an easy way for people to cope with death.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, part of me was just like, I'm like, why the fuck, bro? Like, of all people. But at the same time, it's also like, she's not suffering anymore, because she was in a lot of pain and she had a lot of problems. She was going through a divorce. She was on pain pills. Like, she was down bad. But like, it's sad to say, but it's almost like I'm happy for her that she did pass away, and that she's able to like be stress free, and not have these problems, and just not have to worry about anything. She's on to the different dimension wherever she is, and it's beautiful. And that's the one thing that keeps me like happy, is that I know that she is okay, and like she's not suffering anymore. And like, yeah, it's hard, and there are some days where like man, honestly, if I could, I just want to see her one more time. And she doesn't have to see me, she doesn't have to know I'm there, but just, I have this scenario in my head where it's like it's almost like, have you seen the Batman movies?
Yeah, I've seen 2 out of 3, and I won't say which one I've not seen, but
that's fair. But this is the last one that you haven't seen?
No, I have seen that one. That one.
Good. So in the last one, when Alfred is talking about how he's like, every day during the summer I go to this restaurant, and like, he sees he's like hoping that he sees Bruce or whatever.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the situation that I want. Like, just one last time, like just in a crowded place, and then just turn, for some reason, just like, maybe I should look to the left and just see her, and then turn away and she's gone. That's all I need. And I would die happy if that was just the last time I saw her. Because the last time I saw her was before I left for my mission. But the good thing is that the last time I saw her, it was super positive, and it was really awesome. And she was really happy. So
good. So it wasn't a kind of tainted memory left, and kind of added frustration of
exactly. And like, I've never had bad memories with her, and that's why, like, and even if I did have bad memories, I don't remember them. And because once you get older, all you remember really is the good times. And the bad shit kind of fades away after a while. But yeah, it was really tough, and I progressed on my mission a little bit more, and things just got a little bit more tough. And then I got a new companion that day, so I'm a fucking wreck. Wow. And then I got this new companion that I have to talk to, and yeah, it was really rough and everything. But Elder Garner, my new companion, he was super cool. He was in the Formula One, so we got along really easily. He had like a whole fucking calendar and like posters of like Formula One racers and everything. And I was like,
Wow.
dude, what? Like this kid from Arizona knows what Formula One is? Like, but it was awesome. But yeah, like, man, that apartment could tell some stories, bro. Oh, I just want to go back to that apartment just to like stand there, like breathe it in, and then, man. But yeah, it was a fun time, and times with Elder Garner were a lot more enjoyable than Elder Johnson because Elder Garner was just super laid back and like he understood me and a little bit more, and he helped me out a lot. And by this point, I was starting to get really depressed because the guilt of not being able to be there for my family, I had doubts creeping in my head. I was thinking, am I worthy enough to be out here? Because at that point, I was like, well, if this is true, like, then I'm obviously not ready to be here. And I wanted to go home anyway. So maybe that's the best decision. Crazy. So, excuse me, like a couple months before, or like a month before transfers, I was just feeling like, I was like, something just doesn't feel right. And I was like, I talked to the other missionaries and I was like, could you guys give me a blessing or whatever? And they gave me a blessing. Like I felt a little bit better. And I was just still,
How do they give a blessing?
so it's more like, yeah, they put their hands on your head and like somebody says the blessing and it's like, dear Aaron Grogan, using the authority of the Melchizedek priesthood, which I have, I place my hands upon your head and give you this blessing. And Tyler, Elder Brockbank, he gave me the blessing. And it's more, to me, it's more like you're in tune with that person's spirit and you're sending them a message. The universe sends them, like, my favorite thing to say is, I don't make the rules, I'm just the messenger. Because the universe will send you different cues or different things. Like, it's your intuition. The universe sends you cues, bro. Like, it wants to talk to you and it has signs and different things that coincidences aren't just coincidences. They happen for a reason. And things were just getting kind of weird. And like, I don't know, like, like I said, I started to feel a little bit better after that blessing. And after a while, a couple of weeks go by and I'm like, maybe I should just come clean about my sins, right? Like maybe, somebody has to hear them. Maybe that's what the problem is. And I talked to my mission president and I'm like, hey, I have something to tell you. Like, I was smoking weed up until this point. I had sex multiple times, this and that. And I thought, okay, I'm going to tell you this and that's it. And then we clear it up and you say, all right, man, like, that's good. Thank you for coming forward. He wanted to go in detail as to what fucking happened. Like, I had to describe to this man how I had sex with this woman. It was not okay. It was not okay. I was like, I'm not comfortable with this. I told him.
And how old were you when you engaged in that, if you don't mind me asking?
19, 20? I think I was 20 at this point. No, okay. 19. 19? Yeah, 19.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was 19. Like, and I told him, I was like, I'm not comfortable with this. And he's like, listen, it's just what we have to do. I'm like, all right. Apparently that's protocol.
Do you know why?
And no, I have no idea why. No idea. But so I tell him everything and he's like, well, we'll see what we can do. We'll try and get you. We'll talk to like stake presidents and see what will happen. And my thought, basically my intention was to go home. And that's what I wanted to happen. I wanted to go home. And so I just told him everything and thinking that's going to get my ass home. I don't have to be so depressed. I don't have to be hating my life here. And he talks to the stake president and I talked to my parents and I told them everything. And I said, I wanted to come home. And their initial response was, no, don't come home. Stay out there. Don't come back. Like, there's nothing for you here. stay in Germany. Okay, like whatever. Like if that's because I like tried to plead with them. I'm like, I don't fucking like it here. I hate it here. And they're like, well, just stay a little bit longer. You'll love. I'm like, no, you're not getting it. So I had an argument with them. And then the stake president called and he said, yeah, you can stay. They like reviewed my case or whatever. Like it went to Supreme Court or some bullshit. Reviewed my case. And they're like, yes, you can stay. And not what I wanted to hear. So I was not very happy, but I had to act happy. I had to be like, oh yeah, that's awesome. Like, oh, thanks, President. Like, appreciate, you working with me. But on the inside, I was like, fuck.
So you were hoping that they would say, right,
yeah,
now we know this, you've got to go back, and then your life could continue roughly in the way you wanted it to. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But it was just like everything that could have gone bad, like everything that was going opposite of my way, just had to happen. They were like, yeah, like I want to thank you and like thanks for coming forward, but like yeah, we want to keep you out there. And I'm like, awesome, thanks. And man, it's kind of, I'm like, fuck, what am I gonna do? I gotta stay here. And then President Boyer has the greatest idea: take me out of the city that I love the most and put me in Kaiserslautern. So I love Frankfurt. I wanted to stay in Frankfurt because that's my city, bro. I love that city. And then he's like, you seem to be having problems here. Let's move you to K-Town, to like the southern part, Kaiserslautern. Lived in a little tiny town called Landstuhl. It was a cute little German town. And like, it was a little bit better because it was slower pace and like I could deal with that. But like, it was interesting. I would say that apartment was really the apartment that, like, him sending me to K-Town really like was the reason that like sent me home. That was the thing. That apartment was the one that sent me home because at this point I was like, I'm gonna take you into some murky fucking waters here. I'm gonna take you into some deep fucking waters. Like, and it may change your outlook on me. I don't give a shit. When I was there in that apartment, it was a dope ass pad. It was this big apartment, like huge hallway going down, and then the bathrooms at the end. There's a big living room, the bedroom, big ass kitchen.
Yeah. Classic really German layout.
Classic German. Beautiful, just really nice big apartment.
Yeah.
And man, like teaching people in K-Town was a lot of fun. Elder Adams, he was my companion at the time. He was a great guy. And then I got my first ever German companion, who was also my last ever companion, Elder Richter. And I love that kid. Like, he really put a lot of things into perspective and helped me out. So when I was there, I had just like, I wanted to do good. And I also had a huge crush on one of the sister missionaries that was in that area, Sister Fuller. Oh, I still do. She's super cute. Anyway, Sister Fuller, if you hear this, just don't. Anyway.
erase that from the memory.
Erase that from your memory. You're still beautiful. You're fine as fuck. But anyway, so I like, things were kind of rough, and like I didn't like where I was, spiritually, personally, mentally, like everything, and I was just frustrated with myself and depressed and trying to figure my life out. I have to speak German most of the time with Elder Richter, which is fun, but like I also like want to speak my native language.
Was he German himself then?
Yes, yeah. Okay. So like,
hence the surname.
He spoke English. He spoke English very well, but we spoke in German most of the time because I wanted to make him feel comfortable. But it was fun. It was fun. So one day, we're teaching this guy who ends up getting baptized. But we're having this lesson, and as we're teaching it, I like kind of take over a little bit, and like I start teaching, because I like this kid. I like the kid that we're teaching him. He's a good kid. Can't remember his name to save my life.
How old are we speaking?
He was like 20 something in the military.
Oh wow. So it's pretty much your age.
Yeah, he was pretty much he was somebody that I could relate to too. So it was like, and he took the steps and he wanted to, get baptized. And I thought that was awesome. Like, just because the feeling of like, maybe this is what'll make me happy, right? Like bringing other people to Christ and baptizing somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But during the lesson that we're having with him, like I said, I kind of take over, and to me, I'm having a great time, and he's listening to the lesson, and he's taking this shit in. And afterwards, Elder Richter pulls me aside, and he's like, yeah, like that was a good lesson and everything. And he's like, Elder Grogan, like you're not the only one that knows how to teach. And I just felt super fucking bad because I just took over the lesson. I didn't let him do anything, and I felt like shit. And that kind of set me, like, as soon as he said that, the whole, like, I could feel my body just hit the bottom.
Yeah.
And I was like, rock fucking bottom. And I've been there before, and I know what that feels like. And I was like, fuck, dude. Like, all right, let's just go home. So I drove to the apartment, and as we're driving there, like, I'm just, like I said, I'll take it into murky waters. As I'm driving, I'm like, what if I just turn super fast, crash this motherfucker, end it right now? What if I just do that? Like, I seriously had the thought, and like my hands were about to fucking do it. And then I was like, I don't want Elder Richter's life to be on my hands. Like, I'm taking my own life, not his. And that calmed me down, and kept driving, get to the apartment, and like we're in the apartment, and it was just kind of like an awkward rest of the day. And
Well, was he bitter at all still, or had he?
yeah, he was still kind of bitter, and like as much as like fun and lighthearted as I tried to make it, like he was still just like, man, like I wanted to teach him too, because he liked the kid too. He wanted to get him baptized more than I did, I would say. And I just felt fucking bad. It was just an awkward rest of the day. We didn't really talk to each other much. And then, like, at the end of the night, we were talking and said goodnight. And I, like, went into the bathroom, and it was just like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm just going to do it. And I took a tie. I'm like, I'm going to around my neck, and was just like, I'm ready to go. Like, I just wanted to fucking end my life right there. And like, as I was about to, like, I was like, I need to listen to some music. I was like, something needs to calm me down, or I'm gonna lose my shit. Like, turn on some music, and one song that I used to love to listen to a lot is it's called "Lean World" by Young Lean.
Oh,
I think like beautiful song. It is a beautiful song. And that was my stoner song. That's the song that used to keep me going when I would get high all the time. And I just put that song on and took the tie off around my neck. And like, I wasn't gonna kill. There's no way I was gonna kill myself with a tie around my neck. Like, afterwards, thinking about it, I was like, that's a pretty dumb attempt. And I should have jumped out a window or some bullshit. But I took the tie off, and I listened to the song, and like that song fucking saved me. And I realized, I was like, music fucking saved me. And then I'm not going to take that for granted. What if there's a kid like we were talking about earlier, that one kid, right? What if there's that one kid like me who's about to fucking kill himself, and he just hears my song, or he hears someone's song like me, and I heard Young Lean's music, and it just took that away from me. And I heard this passion in the music, I heard the notes, everything, and I cried for 30, 45 minutes. Like, I didn't even want to pray. I didn't even want to talk to God. I just wanted to listen to that song. And I was just, listened to it, and got up, went back to bed. And then the next day, I didn't tell anybody about, like, not a lot of people know about this, and like, but I rather get this off my chest. I feel comfortable at least expressing this because shit, we talked about a lot of stuff already that not a lot of people know, so I might as well.
No, I really do appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah. And it was, the next day was just weird for me, and but also kind of joyful because I was like, I have life, like I'm alive, and it was weird, but I decided, I was like, let me see what I need to do, and maybe I should go home. Maybe I should just get the fuck out of here. And I took the missionary phone that they gave us. I factory reset it, which you're not supposed to do, by the way. They track your phones and everything. I factory reset it because I said a new one, which I did get a new one. And so I'm gonna be honest with you, I was watching porn like every day before I left. I was like, I have been deprived for months of the con. So
of
yeah,
any kind
I was
of
watching porn. I was watching, yeah, any kind of physical touch from a woman, and like looking at something like seriously, I was ready, bro. If a 5 out of 10 hit on me, I was ready to smash. Like that's how desperate I was.
Wait, so what kind of phone? So they gave you smartphones then?
Right. So I had
okay, not just like a brick phone.
Right. So I had a Galaxy S6.
Oh, good phones as well.
Yeah, so I had an S6, and that was my first one that I had on my mission. And then my dad sent me an S9, which was the brand new one at the time. Yeah.
Jeez.
I had an S9 on my mission. That thing was baller as fuck.
Oh, did he have to get that like tracked and sorted before sending it to you, or? Okay.
So he sent it to me. I gave it to the missionaries. They set it up the way they're supposed to, whatever. So I factory reset the other one. And that, like I said, me factory resetting that phone, that apartment, trying to kill myself, being depressed, not being able to speak English all the time. I was like, I'm fucking ready to go. I have at this point in my head, I'm like, I'm already on the plane home. And so I called up President and I was like, listen, I obviously I wasn't going to tell him that I tried killing myself because that would have ended terribly. So I was like, listen, I'm feeling really depressed. And like, I've been feeling depressed. And I was like, I think it's time to go home. And I think it's time that we finish this. And like, he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, it's time. Like, I'm ready to go. Like, all right. He sounded super pissed off. He was like, he did not want me to go home.
Damn.
Yeah. Cause I'm sure he wanted me to stay because shoot, I'm charismatic. I can talk to people. Like, I had no problem with talking to people. And that's what helped me. Yeah, that's what helped me on my mission. Like, was just being able to talk to people. And obviously, he saw that, and of course, like, why wouldn't you want a missionary that's, easy? And
that's a shame. Shame it was a pissed off kind of vibe though, instead of like, oh man, I'm sorry you even feel that way enough or strongly enough to actually need to go home for it. Like,
it felt like a pissed off vibe of like, all right. And I was like, damn, all right, fuck. That's because, and then everything just kind of felt like, like it made sense that, he would be pissed off about that because if it was a normal person and he was trying to be genuine, he would have done what you said. Like, man, I'm sorry you had to go through that. And I'm sorry you feel that way. And I think, this should be the best course of action. If you think you want to go home, then go home. But it was more like, are you sure you don't want to stay? Like, just trying to convince me to stay the whole time instead of like, I feel for you and I'm sorry.
Did it almost feel like he was at a call center reading through a script and just going through every possible outcome, checking off the list just to get you to get the product, which was to stay on the mission?
Right. Yeah. It was like, it felt like, is there anything that I can do? Like, do you need anything? Like, what would make this better? I'm like, dude, no, I just want to go home. Like, nothing can make it. I'm far past that. Like I said, man, I was already home in my head. Like, I was already done being a missionary by that point. And so then I went home, flew in, and thing that really struck me as odd and almost staged was when I landed in Boise and I'm at the airport and I'm exiting and I see my parents like waiting for me at the exit. And there's a whole bunch of other people there like welcoming me home because like again I came home early from my mission.
How early?
I came home, so I was out there
left?
for 8 months. I had about a year, almost a year and a half left.
Oh, so didn't even get halfway. Like this was very early.
Yeah, I was like, I'm done with this. Like,
Okay. Wow, that's a lot in 8 months. That's a lot, man. Oh, wow.
Well, not even a full year, bro. And I was like, fuck, this is not for me. But yeah, when my parents like, and I've never told my parents this either, but when they came to pick me up, it felt super ingenuine, and I felt like my parents resented me the whole time. They were very quiet. It wasn't like a, oh my God, I love you. Like, how are you? Are you okay? It was like a very quiet, somber, like everybody was watching us. So they had the whole, like, it felt very fake.
Mm-hmm.
It felt, I knew they were pissed off at me. I knew they were mad at me. They didn't want me to come home, but they had to put on a show for everybody else, which my parents do. Like I said, parents are fucking insane. It was okay. Like, whatever. I come home, I see, but everybody else that wanted to see me felt genuine. And like they wanted to see me and they were happy that I was back. And like, yeah, of course it sucks that you're home, but like,
were they all members of the church then, or primarily?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was my bishop, members of the church that came to see me, just like old friends. Like it was good, and they felt genuine, but my parents felt disappointed, and that kind of stuck with me. And I was like, oh man, like I came home, like I didn't feel good about myself, like I had shit that was going on. I tried killing myself, and yeah, I get home and my parents have this attitude towards me. I was like, all right, man, whatever. So I get home, and it's just awkward the whole time.
Yeah.
Like quiet on the car ride, quiet when I get home. Like just my parent, like, and I know when my mom is pissed off. Like I just know, and she's just being quiet and like not wanting to, not being very talkative. All right. So I go to bed and then they release me as a missionary. And yeah. And then after a while, I was living with my parents still. And when they released me as a missionary, at that point, I was like, I don't want to smoke weed. Like, I want to stay clean. Because I hadn't smoked for that 8 months that I was out there. Or 10 months, something like that, including the MTC. And so I wasn't about that. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to be a pothead anymore. I'm going to get myself clean. I'm going to go back to church. And like I said, the doubts really, really, really were like building now. And
okay, so your faith was still there.
My faith was still there.
Grappling on.
Still questioning. And I knew, I was like, something's not fucking right.
Okay. Wow.
But I couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't know what was wrong, but there was something wrong. And I couldn't figure it out. So I was like, well, fuck it. I'll just stay with it because I don't know what the answer is. So maybe it's just me being superstitious. Maybe there is no answer, whatever. And it was just weird. It was a weird moment in my life. And finally, after like a couple of weeks, I think I had a job. No, I didn't have a job at this point. My homie Noah hits me up and he's like, hey man, what's up? Like, hey, I haven't heard from you in a minute. I was like, I just got back from Germany. And he's like, word, you want to come smoke this blunt with me? I was like, yes, sir. So he came pick my ass up and we smoked. And that was the first time I had smoked since I came back from my mission. And I don't know if you've ever smoked weed or have done drugs or anything like that, but if you do it for every single day and you stop for 8 months and then you do it again,
it's almost like the first time again.
Oh, I hit it, and like the first hit I took, I was like, oh no, like wow. I'm fucked up. He's like, I thought you smoked every day, and I was like, yeah, before I left for my mission. I told myself I had smoked in 8 months, and he's like, what? Like freaking out. Like, you haven't smoked in 8 months? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Where else is your money going?
Yeah, he's like, you didn't ease yourself into it or anything? And I was like, I don't know. It was so funny. But yeah, I got super, super like just zonked. And as we're smoking, like he's like, we should probably get the fuck out of here. And I'm like, yeah. So as we're driving like off the road, and because we took a back road and like parked and smoked. As we're driving, this fucking cop car drives past us.
Oh.
So it's like if we would have waited like another 5 minutes, my ass would have been busted. And so that was a close call. It was so funny. We're laughing all the way there to my house, and he drops me off. And then I got a job, and I was working. I was having a good time. I worked at a grocery store as a cashier for a little bit, which was a pain in my ass, but the coworkers were cool, so it was okay.
So is the job itself then?
Yeah.
What about the job itself? Like,
people are assholes.
Yeah.
Like, people, especially when they're trying to get their groceries. Like, man, people are assholes. And I get paid $9 an hour to do the hardest job at the fucking grocery store. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like, hated it. I quit. But another crazy story. I think it was like December, maybe November of 2018. And I had gotten back into smoking again because I'm a pothead, obviously. And got back into it, and I was like, I'm going to go on a walk. I'm going to go smoke on a walk. And I had a fucking blunt in my hand, and I don't give a fuck, dude. I'll spark up anywhere. Like, at this point, I'm like, it's America. Who gives a shit? What are you going to do? Like, I'll just throw it away. Who gives a fuck? And so I'm like walking down like in my neighborhood at like pitch black. Like, I know no one's out. And I'm like smoking. I'm high as shit. And as I'm walking, I see. So the way it's set up is so it's like a road that follows, and it like goes around like a curve like this, and then another road leads. And then in the middle, there's a big ass field right here.
Yeah.
So I'm on the opposite side of the field, and I like, as I'm hitting it, I go, is that a fucking cop? Sure as shit. The lights from the street lamps like hit on it, and I see the side of the car, and it says Eagle City Trooper or whatever, Idaho State Trooper. I'm like, fuck, and I'm like halfway through my blunt, and I'm like, I don't want to fucking throw this away. And so I'm like, shit, what do I do? So I fucking ash it, like toss it, and I reach into my bag and I pull out a cigarette. I'm like, if I smoke a cigarette, he's not gonna notice. So I pull out a cigarette. I always have cigarettes with me when I smoke blunts. So
for that reason.
Is
that since then?
Ever since then. So I start smoking a cigarette, and he drives by and he sees me, he stops, turns around, comes up to me, and I like, as he's like driving up to me, I was like, this motherfucker's gonna talk to me, so I don't just stop. I stop. Keep in mind, I am so high. Like, I am stupid high right now, and
still haven't adjusted to
I still haven't. Yeah. Now this cop wants to talk to me, so I'm like sitting here, like just dragging the cigarette, like fucking freaking out. And he like comes up and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Hey, can I help you with something?" And he's like, "Yeah, like I've just been going around. I've been getting calls in the neighborhood of somebody like stealing construction equipment." And because I thought when he said, "I've been getting calls in the neighborhood," I thought he was going to say,
about some guy wandering around with a blunt.
Right. Like, some people have been like stealing construction equipment, and I was like, oh shit, really? Like, I didn't even know that. I had my backpack on, so I looked guilty as fuck. Like, I had my backpack on, I had my bleach blonde hair, I had a headband on, a hoodie, shorts, like nice ass.
So you dyed your hair as well already.
And when I came back, I dyed my hair. I bleached it.
Okay.
And so so I just looked like a suspect. And he's like trying to tell me, he's like, yeah, like we've been getting calls. I'm like, well, I live here, like, and I'm gonna be truthful with him. I'm like, yeah, I live here, like, just right down the corner on P off. And he's like, what you doing out so late? And I'm like, well, I work long hours, and like this is really the only time I get to myself. And so I just started walk around. I was like, I just got off work and everything. And he's like, oh, okay, okay. And as he's about to leave, like I still have a bunch of weed in my bag. I got shit in my bag that could just fucking, he could lock me up right then, right there. He could arrest my ass. And as he's leaving, he's like, well, thank you for helping. I told him, I tried to send him off the trail. I was like, no, I haven't heard anything over here, but you do know my friend Mason in the other neighborhood on the other side, like just trying to send him off the fucking trail so he doesn't follow me. Yeah, my friend, homie Mason that lives on the other side, he's been saying he's been seeing motherfuckers over there. And he was like, oh, okay. And so he's like, oh, you have a good night. And I was like, all right, thank you. And as he's leaving, my high ass was just like I was still thinking, I'm like, maybe he's gonna like, pull me aside, like he's gonna fucking arrest me. He's gonna do something. Like I'm paranoid and I'm high. And my high ass goes, what does one have to do to become a police officer? And police officer. And he just like stopped. He's like, oh yeah, here, let me tell you about it. Here's the thing. That's how you get the cops. If you start to get them to talk about themselves, they'll completely forget whatever the fuck you were in trouble for or whatever the fuck.
I'll keep that in mind.
Like, how does a police officer? And he tells me the whole spiel and everything. I'm like, well, thank you. I was like, and your officer, because I didn't get his name at first. And so now I'm like, your officer, what? And fuck, I don't remember his name. He's like, yeah, I'm the deputy. I'm like, okay, awesome. I was like, well, I'm thinking about it. I was like, maybe when I get there, I'll put your name in. And he was like, yeah, thank you. He's like, you have a good night, man. I'm like, thank you, you too. Sprinted my ass home. I like, as soon as like I walked past him and I'm like, all right, see you, bye. And as soon as I didn't see his headlights anymore, I fucking sprinted my ass down there.
I was about to say, if you suddenly went from, oh yeah, I'll put a name in for you, turn around and then start legging it.
No. As soon as I didn't see his lights, I was like, bye. And I was seriously thinking, like, I had the weed in my bag, and I was like, what? Like, if he starts, driving past again to come question me, I'm like, what am I gonna do? So I had the weed in my hand, like in the bag in my hand as I'm walking, and I'm like, at any moment I hear a car or see a car, I'm just gonna fucking chuck it, and like so that way I don't have anything on me. So I'm sprinting. I get home, and my heart is like pounding. Because I thought as soon as I saw that cop car, I'm like, I'm done. I'm going to jail. This is it right here. Like, this is what it's all come to. And I'm like in my room and I just get on my hands and knees. I'm like praying. I'm like, please God. I'm like, please just, I won't smoke anymore as long as I just don't get arrested. I'm like, please. Like, I'll be a good kid. I'll go to church. I'll do what you need me to do. Like, I promise. I won't do anything. You just please, just don't let me get in trouble. And my dumbass. And then like the next couple of days I start smoking again and like
forget about it.
Yeah, forget about it. But like that's when like I felt true fear and I was like, fuck, like God help me. But like it didn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like theoretically speaking, if I would have smoked again with the promises that I made, then I would have gotten in trouble. But so
it was kind of like, so just to reiterate what you said to make sure I get that last bit, that fear which seemed to have ignite particular behaviors and actions thereafter, this was the time where that spark was really dim and it just wasn't enough, and you acknowledged it wasn't enough for once and we're like, you know what, I'm not going to apologize to you, big man, like this is whatever, I'm going to keep smoking.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like one of those moments. And I told my, who was like some girl I was talking to at the time. I told her the whole situation and she was like, bro, she's like, don't fucking worry about it. Like, God's not going to save a cop from arresting you or save you from smoking weed. She's like, it's your own decision. Do your own shit. I'm like, all right. Like, thank you. Yeah, fuck, I needed that.
Confirmation bias. That's from the other side this time.
Right. And so, but still, I was still like doing church shit. And I still wanted that image for my parents, because if they knew, then were they gonna kick me out the house? Like, my parents didn't even know I smoked weed at this point. They still thought I was a good kid. And, I've lived a double life my whole life, and like, it was just a fucking struggle having to like keep balancing that shit. And then I just stopped going to church, and I was like, okay, like, I don't want to go to church anymore. But then I would occasionally go if like my parents were like, you need to go to church or whatever.
So it was kind of like, okay, I'm stopping now, but I'll occasionally visit them, as opposed to just, starting to show up less and less and less. It was just, no, here and there.
I was like, I just don't want to go. And like, yeah.
Mm.
I just felt guilty for like other people that really wanted to see me there and like had helped me through my mission, like my bishop, a bunch of other friends and family, and like, mainly the reason why I had kept that in for so long of this is how I feel, because I didn't want to scare people. I have friends and family that are still in the church, and like I didn't want them to change the way that they looked at me, just because, oh, I believe something different, right? Well, I know that the Mormon church isn't true. So it was just like fucking, I didn't know what to do. I was in a rough patch, and most of my life I've been in a rough patch. But I was just confused. I didn't know what to do, and like I was scared, and like so many things going on still. Like I had work, I had shit that I wanted to do. I wanted to focus on my music, but I didn't know how. And like just a lot of crazy shit was going on. And then quit Fred Meyer, the grocery store. Then started working at Nike in that summer. That summer, summer of 2019, I applied for Nike like twice, and then the second time I finally got it. And it's actually really funny how I got the job, because the first interview that I did with them, it was a one-on-one, and it was just awkward and it was weird, and like I hate that. And then the group interview, and I was like, oh, perfect, I can just feed on everybody's energy, and like this will be super easy.
Way more adrenaline, all that kind of stuff. Yep. It's almost like the alcohol equivalent of, you don't feel dead sober amidst loads of drunk people or whatever. It's not that awkwardness.
Yeah.
Nice,
so it's
nice.
I was like weird. So then the second interview, I'm just like, I'm kicking back. I'm putting my arm on the chair. I'm talking to the chick next to me. Like, we're having a good time. And so I get the job, and it was awesome. I didn't get drug tested, so I don't give a fuck. So it was a great job, and I had a lot of fun there.
Wow.
And great. It was, Nike was sweet. Nike was sweet. I got a lot of shit from them.
What did you do? What was your specific role at Nike?
Yeah, so I worked in the back most of the time, like stocking, but I did work in the front, like cashier, and pretty much everywhere, but mostly in the back, because that was my forte. Because like I hated when other motherfuckers were trying to do shit. Like I'm like, no, it's organized this way. Like let me do this. Like it's just fun. It's monotonous, and I don't have to talk to people. So let me do that. And so I did that for about 2-3 months. It was just a seasonal job.
Okay. Like a peak period, kind of.
Right.
They need more workers, and yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was summertime, so they were like, we need you. And I'm like, all right. So did that, had fun. By that point, I was like, I wasn't giving a fuck about the church, bro. I was like, I didn't care about it. I didn't want anything to really do with it, but like, I still believed in God.
And so your faith was still there.
So I knew the church. I was like, I didn't fuck with the church, but I still fucked with God and Jesus.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, it was just weird time. But a lot of fun. Like, I was starting to get in shape. I was working there a lot. I was talking to this girl while I was working there. Like, it was pretty nice. And then I quit, or more like they let me go, because again, seasonal job. And then I worked at Teleperformance, and Teleperformance is basically like Apple's call center. So like they work for Apple, So like we're contracted through them and everything. They give us Macs, and like we teach people about their Apple products. So I mean, I know everything that there need is to know about Mac OS and like how your iPads and your iPhones work. So thanks for that knowledge. I'm grateful for that knowledge. But
does that influence, the Mac you're using now and the AirPods?
Yeah.
Did you get any reduced price on those or?
No, not after
oh man, the best thing you could ask for there.
I know, but it was only like a 10% discount anyway. So I'm like, Apple's super cheap, bro. They never want to give discounts to anybody. It's crazy. No, but even the military, military discounts 10%, and that's the only percent of discount we can give anybody. Like what? Like anyway.
To get back on track.
Yeah.
I want to know when did and how did, what instigated, or was it just finally you realized that belief in God as you knew it? When did that just finally let go and fall? If it did.
That finally, that's finally, like, I'm fully atheist now. Like, there's no God. It's just we're all beings in the fucking universe and we're connected somehow. But I would say the real point where I was like, I knew that he wasn't real was when I was doing a lot of meditation and a lot of witchcraft and a lot of different things like tarot readings, different shit like that. I was like, this speaks to me more than the Sky Boy does. So, and I'm like, also, if he exists, I'm like, why do I sometimes get these feelings and sometimes not, and like answers aren't clear all the fucking time? But whereas with this, the answer is clear. Like when I meditate, I'm so focused, like clear with myself, everything is clear, like I'm balanced, and the answers that come to me are clear.
Yes.
God, it's everything is a mystery, right? Like, and that's, to some people, like, they have faith, and that's fine. Like, that's okay for you to believe in something that you don't see. But for me, I'm a realist, bro. If I can't see it, then I gotta have something to back it up. Like, there's got to be some sort of evidence. And me, like I said, me meditating and practicing witchcraft and tarot reading, spells, different things like that, like, that has really opened my eyes, and that has really made me see that there's a bigger picture than just God and Jesus. We're so fucking stupid to think that it's just one being, one God that controls everything. That's so naive, and that's so, like, it's stupid. Honestly, I think it's dumb. And I'm someone who was loved like God and was devoted his life to God.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many factors and there are so many things that why would it just lead to one person? Why would it just be that one thing, one person decided that this is how this is going to be? I love personally what Buddha has taught is that we are all connected. Think about all of us, all of these beings, whether that's on the earth, in some other universe or some other planet, different beings, we're all connected by this quilt, basically. It's all these little strings on like a little thing, and every little point where they meet up is you or a dog or some hyper intelligent being on another planet, different people. And that's what I believe. We're all connected. It's super weird how we're all connected. There's always something that we can find in common with each other.
Yeah.
There's always like, whether even with fucking animals and plants, do you see how connected we are to different things? Like,
I agree.
It's, and that's what I feel, as we are all connected by this quilt, and it's our job to strengthen those connections with each other. Like, we're all, like I said, we're all in this little quilt, but like some of those little strands are starting to get really fucking thin.
Yes.
And
yes,
a lot of people aren't connected with nature and with themselves, and so they just become that lonely little dot that's still in the square, but there's no connections to it.
Yeah. It's like they've just gone around with a scissor.
Yeah.
It was scissors, sorry. And then I've heard people reference. I really like that analogy with the string and the dots connecting everything. I've not actually heard that before. But what I've heard people reference it, and something I'm leaning towards here, and I don't want to spend too much time on what I think, so I'm just going to leave it at this, is that it's consciousness. That's what links everything together. And obviously everything doesn't experience or isn't conscious in the same way. For example, rock, if it is conscious, it's not filtered through a central nervous system, and so it won't feel pain, but it will be aware. It will have a particular present awareness, and that is exactly how we restore these connections to those things, to nature, to each other, and that's by becoming present. And meditation does just that, the state of no mind. And I forgot the Japanese word for it, so I can't sound extra pretentious, but it allows us to tap into that constant gong, which is what that quilt effectively covers, and it's forever covering, and there's not a tick 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 tick, because a tick 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 tick, that shows many disjointed moments, and that's not reality in which we find ourselves. I don't know. That's
wow. That's
that's what listening to Alan Watts a lot does to you.
Hey man, watching Midnight Gospel, if you've ever seen that, that's a good show.
No, I've not.
Midnight Gospel on Netflix. I don't know if it's just available in America, but I mean, you can use a VPN if you need to. So
yeah, man, I've noted that down. So actually, whilst we're on that, what then got you into that stuff? So you've stopped going to church, you go occasionally, then there's this end point where you finally practiced witchcraft, meditation, you aim to restore lost connections and to realign yourself with yourself and everything else. What got you there?
Yeah, so I have a really close friend of mine. Her name's Lex.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a witch. Also, my cousin's girlfriend is a witch, and a lot of my other friends are witches. So,
and what is a witch? What is a witch in this context?
So a witch is someone that practices witchcraft and does that, like has crystals, like their own setup, like just practices witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a negative connotation. It's just
no. It's not like the warty old hag who's
exactly. Like Salem witch trials type deal. No, they're witches, and I love them. Like people that are witches are so nice, and they're like, their energy is so inviting to me, and like I'm very attached to those type of people. Like my cousin's girlfriend used to be my best friend before they even met. But anyway, so Lex, again, she's a witch. She taught me pretty much everything I knew. And so one day we were just talking, and she's like, "Do you want a tattoo? Like, I can do a stick and poke tattoo for you." I'm like, "Dude, fuck yeah, I want a tattoo. Like, yeah, let's do it." And she's giving me a tattoo. Here, let me see if you can see it real quick. There we go.
Okay. Oh, it's like the Nirvana kind of.
Mm-hmm. It's Nirvana, but a little frowny face.
Oh, look at that.
So she did, yeah, hell yeah.
You know?
Let go. So she gave me the tattoo, and as she's doing the tattoo, her and I are very close spiritually. I call her my spiritual sister because it's mind-blowing how connected we are on a spiritual like plane. She'll call me or text me sometimes and be like, "Have you seen this today? Like, did this come up today?" Like a specific, like she'd be like, "How many cop cars did you see today?" Or like, "You saw cop cars today, didn't you?" Or like, "Did you see any evil eyes today?" Or "How did you feel?" Like, she just knows. I'm like, yeah, what the fuck? Like, yesterday she asked me, or not yesterday, 2 days ago, she goes, "Did you see an evil eye today?" An evil eye, and like a lot of people, what's that symbolizes is, people will put that on their profile picture. They'll keep like a little evil eye on them. It's supposed to reflect bad energy back on the people that reflect it onto you. So when you have that with you, and it works, it really does. Like, people see it and they're like, "Oh, what the fuck is that?" Like, it's a alarming looking symbol, and what it does is like, yeah, people that project bad energy onto you, they can't when you have it. It's like a protection basically, and that bad energy just bounces back onto them through that evil eye. And I was scrolling through my Snapchat, and one of my old friends like put that as her, like, next to her name or whatever. And I just didn't think about it. And like nobody would have fucking known that. No one would have known that I scrolled past and saw that. And she goes, "You saw an evil eye today, didn't you?" And I was like, "Fuck yes. How do you know these things?" And but the thing is like I'll do that to her. But the way I do it, she freaks the fuck out. She'll be like, "What the hell?" So this is, you can believe me or not, but this is really weird. So as she's giving me my tattoo, we're talking, and we were talking about spirituality, and then we were talking about our skin, because she's giving me a tattoo, obviously talking about skin. And she was talking about the last time that she went to the pool. And for some odd reason, she's like describing this, and she's like, yeah, like there was some weird old lady that like was there, and she jumped into the pool with all her clothes on without her even telling me. Dead ass, without her even telling me. And she also had her hand on me. I'm drawing blood. Maybe that's some sort of spiritual thing. I don't know. Something that day, something changed. Something opened up. I don't know what it was. I don't know whether that opened me up spiritually, me getting the tattoo, just being with her. Something happened on that day, and I don't know what it was. But it changed me. As she was telling me about the story, she's like, yeah, the lady jumped into the pool with all her clothes on. And I go, oh, yeah. She was blonde. She had a white shirt on, black belt, like blue cutoff, like booty shorts, and white Converse, and like dark roots, right? And she just stops, and she's like,
so specific as well.
And she's like, I'm like, what? She goes, what the fuck? How did you? I'm like, did she have dark eye makeup too? And she's like, what the fuck? Like freaking out. And I saw her, I dead ass in my head. I could see her jumping into the pool, all her clothes, everything. And it gets even better. She then is like, yeah, I saw two old ladies too that were at the pool. And I was like, yeah, one of them had short gray hair. The other one had like long, like white hair. She's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, one had purple and the other one had like a lightish blue on. She was like, yeah, what the fuck? Like this, I named the people. And again, you can believe me if you want. I will live by this till I die. This is what I saw. And she's just like freaking out. She's like, what the fuck? Like, how would you even? I'm like, I don't know. And she goes, hold on, let me test something real quick. And she reaches into her bag and she pulls out this pendant. And it's like this little like silver pendant, and it has all these interesting things on it, like different signs, like Taurus, Gemini, the zodiac signs on them. Okay. And she didn't tell me where she got it. She just like hands it to me, and she goes, what can you tell me about this? Okay. And so I hold it, and I was like, the store that you bought it in, when you were looking at it over the glass, I was like, it's on the middle row, right? And she's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, the thrift shop that you bought it at. When you were looking at it, you looked at it over it like this, and you saw it, and you pointed at it, and you were like, oh, that's cute. And I was like, and the accents that were keeping the glass together was like a solid white, and the floor had like a really dark, like almost purple carpet. And she just like stops, and she like takes it back, and she's like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like, I don't make the rules. I'm just the messenger. Like, that's
don't
where
hate
that
the
started.
player, hate the game.
Yeah, that's where that started. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't make the rules. I'm just the messenger. And that was my real spiritual awakening. And that's when I was like, this makes sense.
Okay.
And she really affected me in that process. So from that day forward, I was like, no. And then I read the CES letter, and then I was like, even more was like, okay, God's not real. Like, this is the only shit that makes sense to me. This is the only shit that like speaks to me. It is by Jeremy T. Runnels. So the CES letter, my search for answers to my Mormon doubts.
Oh, so it's specifically addressing Mormonism.
Yeah, it specifically addresses Mormonism. And yeah, it's really good. I mean, you can go to cesletter.org and you can read it on PDF for free, and that's what I did.
Wow,
And
that's great.
it was a journey. I was like, fuck, like, okay, this makes sense now, and now I get it. Now I understand what life is. Well, not life, but obviously I understand what I believe in, and I understand how this universe works and how we're all connected. But like, it's not through God, because that's just why. I don't know. It's just, it's weird to me to think that like why would there just be one person that's like super above everybody, like, but we all have our same spirits. Like, it's the God complex to me is confusing, because it's like it's a want to feel lesser. You like to feel like you're nothing, because there's this big, God figure that is better than you. But at the same time, it's like, well, then if I die, how is he better than me? How did he get to that point? Like, when I die, I just become my energy or my spirit or my soul. I still believe in that. I still believe when you die, you pass on to a different dimension and you're able to travel freely throughout wherever the fuck you are. But like, just to have one person like controlling everything and being there from the beginning before there was a beginning or anything like that, like, shit just doesn't add up. And like,
It's
science,
by their own standard, they're better than us, because they're the only one to set the standard. And isn't that quite a narcissistic precedent, I guess?
Like to say that you're lesser, like, who's to say that he's greater than I am? Like, who's to say that God is better than me? Like, what proves that he's better than me to you? Oh, okay, he created me, so what? He created Satan. What, like, that makes him super special? Oh, he's so perfect that he created evil? Like, the argument is weird and it's flawed to me, and I just, it should be clear, I don't believe in God anymore. And like, I'm glad that I don't, because I feel so much happier. I don't feel guilty. I don't feel like I need to talk to some person in the sky all the fucking time. Like, I feel free,
I can tell. I can really tell. I mean, so I'll say now. So I met you, Aaron, when I was about, I don't know, let's just say 16. That specific age doesn't matter. So let's say a handful of years ago. And I have a Mormon dad, although he doesn't like to use the term Mormon. He prefers Latter-day Saint. And out of respect, I joined my dad in Germany in his church goings or his outings to the ward on a Sunday. And I met Aaron as a missionary serving, and he stuck out to me, and I remembered him easily without even trying to, because something almost instantly said, yeah, your heart's not in this. I can tell you're, straight away I said to myself, you're not a Mormon, or you're not part of this church. And I could tell you were saying, yeah, my parents sent me out, and you know what? It feels right. It feels right. And I was, no, it doesn't feel right. That's what you're trying to convince yourself of. And it stuck with me since then, to the point where I even brought this up when I somehow managed to squeeze in a visit to Germany to see my dad and other family a couple months ago. I think last October, I managed to get it in between all these lockdowns happening in the UK. And I think I'm pretty sure I brought you up in conversation as a reference point, because we were talking about identifying people whose faith is not strong and people that are fading away from that faith. And yeah, I used you as an example, a specific example. And then after seeing your Facebook post, because you added me on Facebook the first time we met, when I saw it all these years later, after deciding to reinstall Facebook on a completely different matter, it was just a practical thing to do with my animation, I then saw your post renouncing or confirming your announcement of your faith, of your Mormonism. And it really stood out to me, because I really wanted to see the difference between the young man I'd met who's living someone else's dream and fulfilling someone else's prophecy, and to just see how different you would be. And after listening to you today, I can easily tell that you've accepted yourself. It's like all those thoughts that built up in the back of your head as a result of guilt, or I don't know, is God, I need help here. This kind of frustrated searching for answers to where there are none. Finally, just that ultimately leads to denial. That finally shattered, and you finally, I wouldn't say from the sounds of it, you've discovered a lot of this. It's like you've accepted a lot of this, and you've been able to finally progress as you, and not as these, this tool for other people's suggestions.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to restate that. It's beautiful to see. It's beautiful to see, and you're not the only person I've ever seen who I've had doubts about. For example, there have been missionaries who, or not even missionaries, members of wards who I've seen across my life, who, for example, are married, and I can tell straight away they are not heterosexual. Straight away, I'm like, no. And you see this facade. It's so obvious. I mean, body language, once you start to really absorb people, and it's easier when you don't think, because that's when your subconscious flares up, your reactionary, primitive reptilian brain absorbs all that information at a rate we cannot comprehend. And it's same with children. So sexuality aside, I can see it and into children that I've talked at length to, or am partially related to, whatever, that they are literally just a mouthpiece for their parents, and they do not believe it themselves. Which actually, out of curiosity, because I would say we'd wrap up soonish. Do you think, maybe this is too big of a topic to quickly chuck in?
Go ahead.
Religious children, do you think they exist? Yeah. Do you think religious children exist? Can a child be religious, truly?
Truly? It's hard. That's a tough one. And I'll probably get a lot of backlash for this. But
I'm sure the 8 people that see this won't be.
But personally, I think you should know the difference even religious children. Like that's a thing, because again, but the problem is that most of the time it's influenced by their parents. But I've seen kids that, but they're not as young. Like, I'm not saying like a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, like 8 years old, you shouldn't know what the fuck you're going to do at 8 years old. Religious kids, I would say from like 12 to maybe 14, like 11, like that area. Yeah. Because you can make decisions for yourself, and like, you're starting to figure yourself out. That, yes, I would say. But as far as anything like younger than 9, no, not at all. That's, your parents are telling you stuff. They're feeding you everything anyway. Like, it's hard to make decisions by yourself. It's hard to discern different things. You probably don't even have your own sports team that you like, that your parents set you up. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, like, I get it. You can be religious and you can believe in God, but most of the time for those younger people, it's because of how they're brought up, and rather than finding it for themselves.
Sorry, do you mind if I just bump in to add something to that? So I don't fully agree with this person on everything, but he's greatly influenced me. And Richard Dawkins, everyone has heard him at some point, even if they don't remember his name. He added that to religious children, you don't see religious children saying, "Oh, I'm a Democrat," or "Oh, I'm a Republican," or "Oh, I'm a Labour Party supporter." "Oh, no, I'm a Conservative Party supporter," because especially as Western religion anyway is presented, it's very theology heavy. It's very rigorous. It's political in its roots. It's from a culture which is historically segregated from us on political divide alone. And the fact that it has reverence over us still through those ancient texts is mind-boggling as it is. But yeah, if we cannot have political children, or if we cannot, if the idea of political children is understandable and sensible, I don't know, I'm not finding the right word, but you know what I mean.
I think I get what you're saying though.
Yeah.
If political children, like if we can't have or can, then, or basically, okay, I get what you're saying. Like
Yes.
political children, if that's not a fucking thing, then why is religious children a thing?
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're saying, like, yeah, no kid's gonna be like, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, or yeah, part of the Labour Party, yeah, yeah. So I get what you're saying.
Oh man, was there anything else you wanted to add to that? Because I feel like I did slice you off.
No, that's I mean, shit, not that I can think of now. But yeah, like it's interesting. Like you're saying, like most of the time, I mean, and a lot of these kids that I grew up with, and people that are still growing up in the church now, like I can see how much they are like into it, and obviously they've had their own experiences. I can't take away whatever what anybody feels, but at the same time, it's like, well, how would your life would have ended up if your parents weren't Mormon? If you search for things yourself rather than your parents bringing you up, this is what you should believe, and if you don't believe this, you're wrong. Like that's so, thinking about it now, that's crazy to me to think that like you would just bring your child into this world and immediately force everything, your ideals on them, and that they can't think for themselves. And sad enough, that's what my parents did to me. And my mom will to this day completely deny that they had any influence on my life with religion, to the day. And I'm like, how? Like my mom used to tell me, she's like, we never forced anything on you. What? You ever forced anything on me? Are you shitting me? I had to go to church like all the time, go to camp, do church activities, go to seminary, which is part of school. Like, what the fuck do you mean?
Pick between your mission and music school and have them as a combined package. Yeah,
exactly. Pick between my dreams and what they want. So
I guess the last thing I'll ask before we reach the end, your relationships with people now, how are they, specifically your family and other members of the church? How did that all go down, especially after announcing your departure?
Yeah, what I found was a lot of the people that I used to look up to in the church, or a lot of the people that used to be friends with me in the church, when I made that comment, some of them were very polite, and they were like, okay, I see, like, I'm just happy for you for being you, and that you decided to speak about this. And some members of the church have said that, and I'm like, that's fucking awesome. Like, that's just all I want to hear. Like, but my family, a lot of other people that I've been close to in the church, resent me for that. And it's interesting to see that how angry someone can be just because I believe a different thing, or because I feel the way I feel. And my mom still doesn't really want to talk to me. The only thing she said to me, like, since Christmas was like Happy New Year. And then before, like, it was literally, I posted that. I hadn't spoken to her at all until Christmas. Didn't really talk at Christmas. It was just kind of awkward. And then didn't talk to her. And then she sent me a Happy New Year's text, and that's about it. And it's hard because I know my mom really well. I lived with my mom my whole life, obviously, but like, she can hold a grudge forever. And it sucks because I love my parents and I don't want them to be sad that I'm happy. But part of it is also kind of like, go fuck yourself, because knowing them for so long, I know my mom likes to do the guilt trip. Like the whole time I was there, she was just crying, like just like not talking to me, doing the shit that she does, like make me feel bad. And I wasn't having any of it. I'm like, I'm fine. I'm good. I have moved on. But you are stuck here. You're stuck in that spot and you don't want to move from it. In the church, they always talk about progression and that everybody else is evil because they're stagnant, like the Satan, like being stagnant is the enemy or whatever. But like that's exactly what they're doing. It's being stagnant and staying in that headspace, not wanting to ask questions, not wanting to move on, just being comfortable with how things are and just staying there. And that doesn't sit right with me. If you're saying that we shouldn't be stagnant and yet you teach to not question anything and to just stay stagnant, like it just doesn't make sense. And like the relationship with my dad is okay, like because he understands, because he used to be inactive. But let me show you something real quick. So my grandma's a different story. Grandma's a little crazy.
Oh,
grandma's really crazy. She
Mormon,
something Mormon, very Mormon.
Okay, very devout Mormon.
Very devout Mormon. She messaged me that day on Facebook Messenger because apparently my mom was freaking out. My mom was going crazy because she's very devoted, and to her, any of her children leaving the church makes her look like a failure. Yeah. And I can see that because she loves God and she's committed, and that makes sense.
And everything's done out of love from her point of view, obviously. Like
right.
In every story, and I'm not calling your mum a bad guy or a villain, but to get the point across, that saying where every villain thinks they're the hero, every side thinks they're doing right. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it and wouldn't act on that. So it does come out of love, but it's such a shame that obviously it has consequences unforeseen to everyone. Sometimes
it does. Like, and that's the one thing that I resent my parents for a lot of the time is how they portray themselves on social media. And my dad is very big into Facebook, and my mom stopped using Facebook because I posted that thing. And like, it's just the way they portray themselves. They try to make everything seem all buddy and let everybody think that everything is going good because, like they used to, it pisses me off. They used to brag all the time that I was on my mission to everybody. And I hated that. I don't fucking brag that I'm on the mission, not you, motherfucker. like, and it's frustrating. It really is frustrating. And it's frustrating to see a lot of friends that I had in the church that call me arrogant for leaving.
Wow.
They say They say I'm arrogant. Well, mainly because of the posts that I had, and they're like, "You're arrogant, this and that. Like, you can't say that, like, this is 100% false or 100% true. Like, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Well, I do know that it's 100% false because I have the facts right in front of me." But it's hard to see. Like,
man, I always get in that position where, because they say you can't be 100% sure, and yet often people of all these different groups, especially Western religions, they all think they're the ones in 100% right and they're 100% sure of something, and then they're entitled to that faith on any facts that don't seem to be covered. It's faith that is the bridge, and it's meant to be there. It's the only way to have a bridge to God. I from many conversations and very passionate ones. Yeah, I understand that. I really do.
Yes. It's it is what it is. But like, I'm not sad about that. The thing that has helped me grow to and really accept things in life is through my meditation and like just seeing things for what they are. Like, yeah, fuck, that sucks, bro. Like, a lot of people don't want to talk to me. My parents don't want to talk to me, but I'm like, I'm not bothered by it. It's still a positive thing. Like, yeah, that sucks that this is relationship now, but that doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever. And I don't know. I've become a lot more positive ever since my meditation. Just looking at the situation, like, I'm happy. I don't understand why everybody else has to be like, their happiness is based off of my happiness. Like, come on, like, it ain't that deep, bro. You know what I'm saying? And but it's, like I said, it's sad to see, but at the same time, it doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't bother me. And like I said, they can be where they're at, and they'll be angry for however long they want to be angry. But meanwhile, I'm living life. I've moved on. I'm past that. And there they are, still staying stagnant. So.
And what was it your grandmother or your grandma said? Yeah, I don't want to end it and then have you going, oh man, slap of the thigh.
So she goes, this is at December 15th at 1:14 p.m. She goes, do you have any idea how much you have injured your parents? Be as you like, but keep your foul, vicious hate to yourself. They'll never know what you did to your mom. From my grandmother.
That's
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They dig deep, those words.
They dig deep,
even though they're just words. Yeah.
And my dad, like, I think my dad has moved on, and which he should. But at first, he was very like, he was trying to like belittle me a little bit for coming out. Like, if you read what he said, it was.
I did.
Yeah. Like, and he told me that too. He was like, well, that you couldn't be honest with yourself. I'm like, who the fuck are you, bro? Like, you're some perfect person that has never lied in their entire life. Like, yeah, I lied so that way I could end up in the situation that I'm at now. I lied because I didn't want them to feel anything against me, and I wanted a life when I came home. I'm sorry for lying, because I just wanted to be comfortable, and I wanted to save myself, and I was fucking scared, and I didn't know what to do. Like, and I said I was sorry, and yet still, here we are. But man, it is what it is. I don't care anymore. I've moved on. I'm happy. I'm loving life. Things are lining up. I just got like an interview tomorrow. I've been looking for a job for like 6 months. Things just haven't been working. And then now things have just started to line up, and it's not for no reason. Like, okay. It wasn't a coincidence that I felt the way I did. It wasn't a coincidence that I came and told people how I felt. You know, it all happened for a reason, and it's leading me to whatever path that I carved, whatever road that I'm on. All of that has been leading up to that point.
And I think that is a great place to end there. So really, from someone who was raised into a family, playing paper toss in a temple, not quite gripping the sentimental reason of why I was in such a secret and sacred place, to someone who had to choose between doing something they didn't love in order to do something they love, or just not doing anything they love at all, and to having very low moments as a result of not being where they wanted to be, or at least in the way they wanted to be, to finally accepting themselves, shedding themselves of all this guilt and denial that had built up across these years, to kind of break down that line that split you into two different people living a double life, as it were. Thank you. That was, I really enjoyed that story. I enjoyed
Thank you, man.
Wow.
I appreciate you even reaching out to me. Like, that's so weird. And out of everybody that I was like, there's no, like, how you of all people would hit.
It is quite random. It is
very random. But like I said, things happen for a reason.
Yeah. random British kid who didn't speak German in a German ward, in a Mormon ward, and he wasn't Mormon, meeting an American missionary from Idaho.
Yeah.
You are from Idaho?
I'm from Virginia. I live in Idaho. I lived in Idaho at the time. Yeah. I'm from Virginia, D.C. area. The DMV, if you know what that is. But yeah, no, it's crazy. Like, the universe is crazy how things line up. It's so weird.
And how would you summarize in, let's say, like an elevator pitch equivalent, what you're doing now, what you're up to now, and where your life is heading?
So what I've been doing now is sitting on my... No, I'm just kidding. I've been making a lot of music. Yeah, everybody's been sitting on their ass. But I've been making a lot of music. And I've been trying to find myself, find my sound, find what I do that clicks. Like I said, I make a lot of music. I make everything. But I'm wanting to find my niche, my thing that sets me like, this is it. This is the music I make. Because I love that I can make all this different music. But the one thing that I don't like is that I don't have a genre. Like, I do all this different shit. But yeah, I've been making music. I've been doing my dreams, man. And nothing has made me happier than being able to sit down, write some songs. You know, even if nobody hears them sometimes, it's good to do what I love and live my own dreams and not have to listen to outside influence tell me, you know, what dreams I should have. And yeah, man, my life has just been up and down. It's constantly up and down, and I'm in a weird spot, but shit, I just gotta stay positive. And I have been staying positive, and shit's been working out. Like I said, got that interview tomorrow, and I'm feeling really good about this one. And yeah, like, I've been down bad. I've been in some murky fucking waters, but listen, man, after you get out of those murky waters, you gotta take a shower, put some clothes on, smoke a joint, maybe sit back. You know what I'm saying? Have a good time. Live your fucking life, everybody. That's all I'm saying. Live your life. Be happy with who you are. Follow your dreams. Don't let anybody fucking tell you you're worthless. Don't let anybody tell you that your dreams aren't anything. Let them know how passionate you are about what you care about and what you believe in. And that's what I'm going to leave with.
I cannot be anything other than grateful for how open and honest Aaron was from the get-go, even when covering more sensitive subject matters. I hope for those of you that have listened all the way through to this point, aka the end, that you've taken away something like I have. If you have any more suggestions about who to talk to or what topics you would like me to delve into with a guest, then please feel free to comment or drop me a message on my social media, and I'll try my best to get round to doing it. Have a good one.